The space between who you were and who you're becoming. I think many people are currently in a very strange space. A space where the old version of themselves no longer fully fits, but the new version hasn't fully landed yet. And honestly, I've been feeling that very deeply myself lately. There's this strange combination of clarity and uncertainty, expansion and emptiness, potency and void. And I think many people immediately interpret that space as failure, as confusion, as being lost, as if something must be wrong. But what if this space is actually part of evolution? What if the void is not punishment, but transition? Because I've started to realize something recently. So much of the way we build our lives is connected to identity, right? The identity of who we think we are, what success should look like, what safety should look like, what leadership should look like, what kind of business we should have, what kind of life we should create. And at the same point, if you continue evolving consciously, those identities start breaking apart. Not because you failed, but because your soul can no longer fully fit inside them. And honestly, that process can feel incredibly uncomfortable. Because the mind wants certainty. The nervous system wants something familiar to hold on to. A plan, a structure, a guarantee. But soul-led evolution rarely works like that. I've been noticing this very strongly in two areas of my own life recently. One of them was around housing. For a while, I thought buying a house would be, the next logical step. It looked stable, responsible, safe. But every time I felt into it deeply, my body contracted. It felt heavy, rigid, almost survival-based. And what surprised me was that the idea of renting for a year, for instance, something that mentally made less sense, actually created spaciousness in my body. Like freedom, expansion, creativity, relief, abundance. And I realized that difference matters because embodiment is not just spirituality. It's listening to the intelligence of your body before your mind overrides it. And I've been seeing the exact same thing happen in my business. For years, I built my work around certain identities, certain audiences, certain ways of positioning myself. And suddenly, I started feeling that some of it no longer fully fits. Not because it was wrong, not because it wasn't valuable, but because I could feel that I was evolving. My leadership was evolving. My voice was evolving. And the people I feel called to, they are evolving too. And honestly, that can feel terrifying sometimes because there's a moment where the old identity no longer feels fully aligned, but the new one is not fully formed yet either. You start realizing you can no longer create from performance. You can no longer create only from strategy. You can no longer build your life around external expectations. And your soul starts asking different questions. Not what will work best, but what feels deeply true. Not what looks successful, but what actually feels alive. And I think this is where many people are right now. The old structures are dissolving, but the new reality has not fully landed yet. And that creates the void. But maybe the void is not empty. Maybe it's sacred. Maybe it's the nervous system slowly adjusting to a completely new identity. An identity that is less built on proving and more built on truth. Less built on performance and more built on embodiment. Less built on control, but more built on alignment. And honestly, I think this is part of the next evolution of humanity. Not becoming perfect, not escaping the human experience, but becoming deeply human while fully connected to soul consciousness. Learning how to trust ourselves again, truly. Learning how to listen, learning how to stop abandoning ourselves in order to maintain old identities. And maybe that's the real invitation right now. Not to rush to the next version of yourself, but to allow yourself to consciously move through the space between identities. To let the old dissolve without needing to force the new. Because sometimes clarity does not arrive through thinking harder. Sometimes clarity arrives when the nervous system finally feels safe enough to soften. And honestly, I think many people need to hear that right now. And if you recognize yourself in this transition, I would love to hear from you in the comments. And if this resonates with you, you can subscribe to the channel, because I'll be sharing much more about embodiment, soul-led living, multidimensionality, nervous system truth, and the evolution of consciousness. So thank you so much for being here.